evening, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox and thanks for logging on. You're watching Watches tonight and we have one hell of a program. We're going a little bit mainstream and then we're going beyond the mainstream. We replaced the Patek Philippe Nautilus and the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. We're talking alternatives. We're naming the names of the best, and of course, I am sharing your viewer-submitted wrist shots. All of this tonight on Watches Tonight. Remember, open up a new window, keep me streaming, but check out the new thewatchbox.com. We are stocking up for the holidays and the good stuff is being brought online. That's right, we have watches you haven't seen before and they are coming up for the holiday season. The ultimate gift, even if you're just giving a gift to yourself, thewatchbox.com, the people who pay for these pixels. All right, in the box we have Eddie Landsberg from Harvard Yard, we have Matt Foster, Edward Ledden of Sweden, we've got Sean B. from Temple, Texas, Richard Combs from South Florida, Mr. No Date from London, Blue Shirt Buddha, Mateo C. joining in, Galvin Wong from Toronto in the Great White North of North America. We've got Love Watches. Happy Thanksgiving, Love Watches. Early Thanksgiving to you too. Dave Oppenkar, Zinn fan and the unofficial spokesman for our unofficial Zinn fan club. We've got Luis joining in from Panama, and we've got Mara Tam in DC. We've got Joe Tyson from Apex, North Carolina, Alexi Samola of Finland, Tony Thomas, welcome Tony, The Spruce Moose, Avi B, Jeff Reynolds, Joseph B. We've got Dene V from Budapest, and we have Naresh Pape from Toronto too, I think. All right, guys, welcome. Thanks so much for staying up late in continental Europe with me. I really appreciate that if you are watching from the continent. Europe, I hope I live up to your expectations. Let's talk about some of your wrist shots. Instant gratification, Andre G. And you can see from Orlando, hitting the road with the Cadillac and perhaps the Cadillac of dive watches. Nate B. and his Watchbox bought Rolex Explorer 2, motoring discreetly in his Toyota Prius. Thank you for trusting our company, Nate. We've got Eric N. of Asheville, North Carolina. Shares a colorful pose with the Omega Constellation Globemaster, an underrated gem that we discussed last week. We have Dylan L. behind the wheel of the Blue Oval with his IWC Pilot Doppelchrono Spitfire. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com to see yours on ours. All right, guys, I want to address a persistent inquiry I get regarding all the watch photos and wrist shots that are submitted but not featured on the show. And I feel really bad about this because your photographs matter to me, especially since a lot of you go out of your way to stage incredibly elaborate photos. The truth is that I don't have enough runtime or slots in the show. We started with 4, then we went up to 8, then we went up to 12, then we went up to 16, and sometimes I even sneak a 17th or 18th in there. But if we're going to keep this thing under 40 minutes, and that's what YouTube tells me it wants, we're going to have to hold it to that number. So I'm trying to figure out what we can do. I would love to hear proposals for using these extra images that can't be crammed into this show but still deserve to be shared within our watch community. It might be that I start posting them with credit to the photographer on the Tim Mosso Facebook page. Talking Time with Tim Mosso. We have 2,200 group members. I'm very active on there. Everything we can't do in the discussion threads below these videos, like posting extra thoughts, links, video, photos, we can do on that Facebook page. And that might be where I wind up putting all these extra wrist shots. So let me know in the comment below or join me on Facebook, Talking Time with Tim Mosso. Okay, since I submitted you to that spiel, I'm going to come back with some more wrist shots. Instant gratification 2, we have Matt W. and Phoebe the dog going for a walk with the Mito Ocean Star Diver, one of the best buys in the dive class. JCS and his Russian Vostok Amphibia pose with the Hulk, but truthfully, it's a better match for the Russian Hulk rival, Emil Blonsky, the Abomination. Now that would be a perfect match for a green Russian watch. Stefan B. combines his Glycine Combat 6 GoldenEye with Bombardier Challenger. Nice, I like watches and wings. That's another theme we do on the Facebook page. And Mr. Enigma shoots a classic wrist shot of the highest order with his Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter. Very nice lighting, nice foreground, background, and diagonal. Okay guys, send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com to see your analog on my digital. Let's jump into the box right here. Eddie Landsberg proposing an extra video each week. Edward Ledden is mentioning the Facebook group. We've got Herbert Kim joining in from Seoul, South Korea. Thanks so much for getting up early with us. And then we've got Lloyd Kerr finally joining in live, this time from Maryland in the USA, and Jenks72 staying up late with us in Wales. All right, replacing the watches we can't stand anymore. That is today's show theme. At some point in the last year, the watch hobby reached its gag threshold for full bracelet steel sports watches, mostly from two brands. Now, we've discussed replacements for the Rolex Core 3 on a previous episode of this show. So today we're dedicating our great escape from the integrated bracelet watches and the orthodoxy of Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet. All of which is to say, I play some games with these titles. If you clicked on the title, you might have thought that this show was going to be all about AP and Patek, when in fact, I'm really using it as an excuse to talk about the watches I, and hopefully you, would rather discuss, the fun and underrated alternatives. So, there's nothing wrong with any of these watches, the Royal Oaks or the Nautilus, but sprawling wait lists, aftermarket markups, and the baggage that shadows mainstream success has left many watch enthusiasts disaffected and searching for alternatives, and I am here to provide those. Let's start with the most dominant watch in the space, the Patek Philippe 5711. We're going to call the 5711 in steel because that is the form in which it seems to be most coveted. So more than any other watch, except perhaps the Journe Chronomètre Bleu, the 5711 has witnessed a dizzying ramp in prices. From the beginning of 2017, when the watch was priced at under $25,000, to the present day, when the watch is now retailing for $33,710, even the retail list has surged, never mind the pre-owned price. This is a watch that now sells for over $70,000 a few months out of the dealer's case. So while still a safe store of value when bought new, I don't think you're ever going to lose if you buy it at 33 grand. Few collectors enjoy pride of place on Patek Philippe dealer wait lists. So let's look for an alternative that you can A, buy soon, and B, purchase without a reverse mortgage. So let's do this while sticking with the essential qualities that define the 5711, including exclusivity, relatively low production, a thin case, which is an underrated virtue of this watch, a full bracelet, meaningful water resistance, and plenty of lume, because the Nautilus has all of that. So, for my money, you need to consider as the prime alternative, and you're going to love the price, the Patek Antarctique. The Antarctique is the first true no-holds-barred sports watch from Patek, which is a small, and I would call them startup company, that is essentially named after the original founding partner of Patek and Patek. So this is an old name, but a new company run by real dyed-in-the-wool watch enthusiasts. So this watch admittedly flew a little bit below the radar in a year that was dominated by genre debuts like the Moser Streamliner and the Lange Odysseus. But don't overlook it because it's got a lot to offer. I don't know if you can make out the burgundy dial of this one. It might not be true to color on my screen, but it speaks to the level of imagination that went into this watch. First things first, the price. I said you'd like it, and $18,900 for the standard watch is very likable. I mean, that's what a used 5711 would have cost you back in 2015. So here's the thing, it's shockingly reasonable given that the initial production run was just 99 pieces of the inaugural Terre Adelaide model. Now there will be more, plenty more coming per the manufacturer, but they're going to release them in limited flights with different dial options and small variations in design. But the first generation whets the appetite as it is absolutely stunning in the metal, with appearance that speaks to good fundamental design, but also attention to detail. And the attention to detail really matters. It looks compact at 40.5 millimeters. It has a lovely striated satin dial, and it is super sharp. As you can see, it's broad and hunkered at 10.6 millimeters thick, so the size is perfect for a Nautilus surrogate. Dial options were handsome and varied right out of the gate. A couple of different mainstream models, and then they made 10 more with an exquisite space-inspired nebula dial that needs to be seen to be believed. This is a timepiece that gives you a little bit more choice if you want to go out and buy one pre-owned than you would get with, for example, a 5711. But keep your eyes peeled for the next edition of this watch as it's coming soon. And as you can see in that photo, there are strap options that let you dress it up or dress it down depending on your preference. All of the Terre Adelaide models had a super tasteful satin dial pattern that looks ready for prime time, honestly, on any one of the Swiss Holy Trinity. That wouldn't look out of place on a Patek, AP, or Vacheron watch. and it comes from a first-class supplier that actually supplies Jaeger-LeCoultre, among others. So, specs are impressive, starting with the 120-meter water resistance. That matches the 5711, and frankly, I think the fact that this watch is swimmable without a second guess. There's no is it, isn't it, like with the 50-meter Royal Oak. You know for a fact you can take this thing anywhere except professional diving. The movement was a collaborative effort and an impressive one for Patek, as it was led by watchmaking master Emmanuel Boucher. Now, if you remember Emmanuel Boucher, you're going to associate that name with the Harry Winston Opus 12, which was his. And that is the man behind the Patek movement. So consider what went into that, and now imagine the same brains going into the resulting caliber SXH5 from Patek. It's a treat for the eyes with micro-rotor automatic, a legitimate 56-hour power reserve, and unexpected refinements in the sub-$20,000 price range, such as hand-chamfered interior bevels inside those skeletonized bridges. Let's also remember that those finger bridges, you can see them, we're going to get a little bit closer here, they actually reference in loving fashion the pocket watch heritage of Patek from the 19th century. And I love to see it because it's a whimsical architectural feature that didn't have to be there. That could all be one big solid bridge, but they didn't stoop to that. They spent some money and a little bit of time to do it beautifully, and there is a romance to that machine. You also get a full sports watch architecture, as it's got a full balance bridge, a free sprung balance, and frankly a very large balance with a lot of mass. So in ways that, say, Patek Philippe sports watch movements are not, this is a pretty tough movement, and it's built for the purpose. All of this makes the Nautilus's new 26-330 SC caliber, which debuted just last year, look downright underbuilt and unsuited to a sports watch assignment. Also, this is important, let's keep that up. Compare the lack of real aesthetic considerations with the Patek movement. Yes, it's very nicely finished, but the location and shape of the bridges seem to have been dictated solely by convention and math data. We know that Patek can do better because it did better, and it crafted a handsomely, well, it did so with the 31260 in the 5235 regulator. You can see that the architecture there has come a long way from the basic 240. It's designed to be beautifully finished, yes, but also to be graceful in its layout, the way it looks. But the Patek Philippe Nautilus is a flagship sports watch, and it deserves its own movement, or at the very least, the best Patek has. And the 26-330 is not the best Patek has. Advantage, Patek. So, Patek offers this kind of refinement in its first ever attempt at a sports watch. I can almost guarantee that if you line up for the next release of the Antarctique, you will still get it sooner than if you get into the back of the queue at a Patek Philippe waitlist and ask for a steel 5711. I can also say that Patek's warranty is impressive. Some fun facts. Let's start with the warranty. Patek is offering 3 years to Patek's 2. Advantage Patek. Also, I've never met Terry Stern. Well, I did take a picture with him at Basel World, but it wasn't a discussion. I've met all the folks at Patek, from CEO Xavier down. They're all fun and friendly folks, and it's nice to buy watches from nice people. Also, Patek overcame a classic indie brand shortcoming, the anxiety factor of wondering if you'll be able to get parts and service for your watch. They have a contract with Chronode, which is a major engineering and parts supplier, to provide parts and service for Patek watches deep into the future, regardless of what happens to the company. And that's a wonderful thing. It's a safety blanket for buying an independent brand watch. And frankly, I wish every indie brand would do something like that. Let's jump into the box right here. Sean B is saying, for the extra wrist shots, a pinned post for a week with photo credits on Talking Time on Facebook. I agree, that might be the way to do it. A pinned thread each week with wrist shots. Right here we've got Amar saying, put them on your Instagram stories with credit. You might hit that 50,000 milestone. Yeah, I'm still grinding through the 30,000 range, but that's a good idea, Amar. I really like that. Thomas Burnett saying an extra show would be great. Guys, I would love to do an extra show, or just a really, really good once a week show and start getting those big viewership numbers. Stay tuned on that front, because I have ideas. And then right here we have Anthony Napoli commenting on the finishing here, and Abdul saying they make amazing watches and their team is really great. Met them at Basel several years ago. That's about the Patek folks. We've got The Pigs in a Blanket from San Francisco joining in from America's left coast. And then we have Multi D asking, Tim, why does Patek only use pins on bracelets? Honestly, and I hate to say this, I think because it's cheaper. Because they used to use screws in their bracelets, and then around 2012, I believe, they switched over, and there is no good reason to go from a system that serves perfectly well at Vacheron and Lange and AP and revert to a system used by Tag Heuer. That's all I've got to say on that. We've got Andy Gee joining in from London, England. And let's see, we got one more person who is joining in. I'm sorry, it just jumped away because the box moves so quickly. You guys are talkative in there tonight. Oh, there it is. Nordic Monkey joining in from Sweden. Welcome, and thanks for staying up late with us. Okay, viewer wrist shots. We're doing this again. Raphael C. and his Vacheron Constantin Overseas Automatic aren't done with the pool for 2020. Mohammed E. of Nairobi, Kenya, a longtime viewer, shares a rare watch and cat shot with Seiko and Luna the cat. Daryl S. shares his Watchbox bought Panerai Luminor Marina 1950 and an impressive slab of ribs on the grill. Thanks for trusting our company, Daryl. And Watchusiast, the watch enthusiast from the United Arab Emirates, shares his Moser Streamliner Flyback Funky Blue. Fans of the Streamliner, stay tuned. Moser content ahead. All right. Remember, send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your pieces on these pixels and your watch on my box. All right, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, fact, is hard to avoid. You might even come up with some of my videos with a random search. But here's the thing, amid the massive hype and press surrounding the name, longtime collectors know that the AP Royal Oak is really two distinct series, and that's before we talk about the concepts, the chronographs, and the offshores. The standard Royal Oak is really two different watches. You have the mainstream Royal Oak Automatic, the latest of which is last year's 15500, and that arrived at the last real SIHH in 2019. And then there's the more traditional Jumbo, a direct descendant of the original 1972 Royal Oak. Let's start with the Jumbo, since the 39mm extra thin came first and might be considered the progenitor of this entire integrated bracelet sports watch genre. So, the Royal Oak 15202, which is the current reference of the classical Jumbo, continues to be powered by the original JLC-based AP caliber 2121 that featured in the original 1972 Royal Oak. That's how the watch remains so slim to this day, and the hand finishing of this movement, truth be told, all cards on the table, sets the Jumbo apart from the mainstream automatic Royal Oaks like the 15400, 15300, and 15500. They all have a more mechanically executed interior. Hand finishing of the movement also contributes to the Jumbo's $27,600 retail price in steel, which frankly is pretty reasonable for what you get. You buy it at that price, you will never lose money. I would also say expect to pay far more if you're not able to buy the watch new, because the pre-owned markup can be greater than 100%, sometimes much greater than 100%. Open your mind to an alternative, however, and have more fun for less money. From the same Swiss Vallée de Joux region that spawned the Royal Oak comes this year's $11,900 Bulgari Octo Finissimo Automatic, joining the party in 2020 in stainless steel with contrasting polish and satin finish and 100-meter water resistance against the splash-only security of that Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. The glittering facets of this 40mm upstart are as impressive as the AP and feel fresher from lack of overexposure. Attention to detail and finish impress. And while the roughly 8mm AP Jumbo is thin, the ultra-slim 6.7mm Octo Finissimo Automatic, and that's with 100-meter water rating, is almost knife-like on the wrist. It disappears sitting lower than your wrist hair. It is that thin. But I would also say, here's the thing about this year's watch. In stainless steel, it no longer feels toy-like, like the previous titanium model, which means it's going to appeal to a more mainstream watch enthusiast. Let's also talk about technology inside the watch. Maybe it's not tech in the strict sense, but mechanically it's a cut above. AP's stately old caliber 2121 is revered and beautiful, but it suffers from decades absent any real development, which means Bulgari's new BVL 138, if we go full screen here, is truly impressive. Broad, beautiful, thinner, boasting a longer power reserve, by 50% compared to the Audemars Piguet, and it innovates with a platinum micro rotor that allows you to see the entirety of the case back. The Bulgari movement is built for this case. Less than 2¼ millimeters thick, it fills the entire expanse of that case back at almost 37 millimeters across, which is what it means to be a true manufacturer, building a movement expressly for the case. Heck, Bulgari does the whole watch. Unlike some companies that call themselves manufacturers but only build the movement and farm out everything else, Bulgari builds the bracelet, the clasp, the case, the bridges, the plates, the wheels, the dial, the whole watch, a true integrated manufacturer that you can be proud of. Now here's the thing, at $11,900 new, this Octo gives you the opportunity to get on the Audemars Piguet wait list, buy the Octo, and still wind up spending less money than if you went out, bought the Royal Oak at the buy it now price on eBay or Chrono24. For the price of getting one of those Royal Oaks a few months old, you could have this watch, you could have the Royal Oak when your number comes up on the wait list, and enough money to vacation around the world once this COVID craziness is done. So you can look at this as both a replacement and a placeholder for the AP Jumbo. It's wonderful that way. It gives you your cake and you can eat it too. Let's take a look at your wrist shots. Viewer wrist shots number 4, calling them right up. Peter B took my advice, glad to know someone does, and bought the best all-around Zenith watch. 40 millimeters, Chronomaster, chronometer, complete calendar, moon phase, and an El Primero. Absolutely gorgeous in steel with black dial. Chris C and the Rolex Submariner enjoy a day out in the Poconos on vacation. You ever notice how those cloudy days make for perfect watch photography conditions? You always get the dial. And Tim M, the other Tim M, is working from home with the latest Rolex Daytona steel ceramic, looking good. And Saul C and his Ming 1703 anniversary take us home by Mazda 6 this evening. Let's jump into the box right here. All right, I can see Enrique is saying, next to the Chapek movement, this looks like a 4R35 from Seiko. Abdul saying that micro rotor looks so nice right here. We've got Avi B commenting on one of our viewer wrist chats saying that Zenith is delicious, and Thomas Burnett agrees. Beautiful El Primero. Lloyd Kerr is digging the blazer tonight. I've upscaled my wardrobe, which is to say I've finally got a wardrobe. And then we have Moldy D asking, Tim, does Bulgari still make good watches despite being known for their jewelry? They're making better watches than ever. In the 2000s, Bulgari bought up everything from case makers to clasp makers to dial makers to movement manufacturers, and they wound up with possibly the most impressive dispersed manufacturer that is not named Parmigiani. So yes, Bulgari makes incredible watches, and they are a legitimate watchmaker. The actual factory that puts it all together and builds the movement used to be Gerald Genta and Daniel Roth, which is to say a true haute horlogerie factory that once, well, coined watches such as Grand Sonnerie Perpetual Calendar Tourbillons, the world's thinnest Grand Sonnerie and minute repeater, and many, many more. It's coming from that same factory. When you send back a grand complication for service, the Gerald Genta work that builds the Bulgari is where that Grand Sonnerie goes. The same watchmakers are working on your watch when you buy a Bulgari. And I can see right here, we've got Zapigs asking, how about the case back? Talking about the case back of the El Primero, that's going to be up to a viewer to submit. And then right here we have Pick707. Tim, when will FP Journe bring out a real waterproof sports watch? Well, waterproof, probably never, but I understand what you're getting at. There is one watch that the factory essentially approves for swimming, and that is the Elegant 48, because though it's rated 30 meters, it features FP Journe's only screw-down crown. And I was told directly by the factory that the watch is tested to 50 meters and approved for surface swimming. So if you're looking for a dive watch, keep waiting. If you're looking to swim with a Journe watch, the Elegant 48 is the only men's option. And then right here, I could see we have Mr. No Date saying, love this, but having just acquired the titanium, I'd say this watch looks way better when the dial is the same color as the case and bracelet. Mr. No Date is referencing the titanium Octo Finissimo automatic, which has a blasted titanium dial to match the blasted titanium case. All right, let's jump back to our regularly scheduled program. The other AP Royal Oak is the 15500. This is the mainstream watch. It's bigger, it has the same water resistance rating, but a screw-down crown so you can swim with it. It's more rugged. When you hold it in the hand, you can feel that the clasp, the bracelet, the construction, everything about it is just sturdier. It has a more modern movement. It is the newest standard automatic Royal Oak, as it was just released last year. So, what can I say? It replaces a long line of mainstream automatic Royal Oaks dating back to the 14790 midsize of the 80s and 90s. It's thicker, sturdier, more water resistant, and at 41 millimeters, it is larger than the primary jumbo. So, it's also designed to sell in larger numbers. So let's find a mainstream watch that's a little bit thicker than something like a 15202 and just as technically adept as the modern movement in the 15500. At a retail of $21,800, the 15500 is less expensive than the jumbo, but still inspires wait lists and markups, which means you're still going to wind up paying more than you should to get this watch. So, get a Moser Streamliner instead. That's my advice. The 2020 Streamliner Center Seconds is the second model and the first non-numbered version in Moser's newest model line. The Streamliner is an integrated bracelet sports watch. At 40 millimeters and 21,900, this is a good surrogate for the 15500. This new no-date Moser sports watch struts its stuff as a legitimate alternative to the segment heavyweight from AP, and here's why. Matrix green. The matrix green sunburst creates an explosive dial in direct sun. Heck, it's alive even in the soft interior lighting of an office. Moser deserves to be lauded for meeting a market trend without emulating the class leaders. I see a little bit of Omega Speed Sonic Lobster Tail here and a little bit of Ebel Wave. What I don't see is any unintentional homage to AP or Patek. This is an excellent and original effort in a class that seems to inspire copycat plagiarism. Plus, the watch's interlocking bracelet breaks new ground in this class by firmly staking out territory unclaimed by anyone, and that includes Longa with the new Odysseus. This is a truly original and imaginative take on the integrated bracelet, again, without creating a duplicate or a Xerox of anything that's already successful. And it is so rare that we see brands be brave enough to forge a new tradition, and I think that's what's happening here. This has the makings of a hit. Caliber HMC 200 is a 3-day automatic with hacking. It's a rugged sports watch architecture. It's as tough as what you'll find in the Royal Oak. It's mechanical but handsome in its finish, and the finish is largely comparable to what you find in the AP 4302 that is in the 15500, so you're getting a very comparable movement. The new Moser is 120 meters water resistant, and it boasts blazing lume in that the lume itself is actually ceramized blocks called globalite that are placed on top of black polished hands, and the result is quite dramatic. You can also see from that image that the tip of the minute hand has been rolled on a miniature rolling pin to camber and curve underneath the sapphire. It is a beautifully made thing, and its sports watch credentials are impeccable. Shock resistant, water resistant, automatic winding, and plenty of lume. The clean fume dial with no date purity also bucks the trend of slapping a blue dial on everything that afflicts others in this segment. And while I actually enjoy the quality of finish of the $28,800 Longa Odysseus, and I believe you get fantastic value with the $12,800 Chopard Alpine Eagle, I just think that the Moser is more attractive than the Longa and more inspired than the derivative Chopard, which is why I think it's a better option than either of them. Guys, that's my take. I'd love to hear yours. Comment in the box below. Let me know what you thought. These are alternatives to the Royal Oak and the Nautilus, and I know you have more to propose. So speak your mind, comment below, and check out Talking Time with Tim Mosso on Facebook. Send your wrist shots, because I know you want to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com, and we will figure out what to do with the surplus. Thanks so much. Comment and subscribe, and check out Tim_Mosso on Instagram, where I'm posting 1-minute videos every single day. One final note, I will not be in next Monday, so We'll be taking an extended Thanksgiving holiday, so I won't be here on Monday. So don't get up early, don't stay up late. I know you're dedicated, but I want to give you advance notice. Thanks so much. Thanks to Sean. Thanks to Josh. You guys here and abroad are my team. Time out, Tim out, team out, and thanks for logging on.